Ladies and gentlemen, I am sitting here with a creative genius,
Yo.
a master in photography, and he does a lot of ad production and creative work. I want you to meet Lonwabo Yonela Ngcwayi, inzalelwane yase Ngqushwa, ePhedi.
Yes.
Welcome, Mhlekazi.
Sure, but
Kunjani? How are you feeling?
I'm good. Um, I'm feeling good. Are you asking the question of how I'm feeling, or is it just a common courtesy unjani type question?
No, I'm asking ukuthi maybe engqondweni yakho, in your emotions,
Mm.
unjani?
Um,
Which intellectual and creative space
mm,
are you in?
yeah, I think I'm in a season in my life of trying to understand how to simplify things. I think that's mainly where I am right now. How to simplify everything, how to simplify my ideas, how to simplify my thoughts. Lando Kuthiwa you have to get to the bottom of things. So I think I'm just like and I think I've been in a season like that for quite some time, trying to get to the bottom of everything and what things mean, what things meant, what things could mean. And yeah, that's how I feel.
How much of ingqushwa is still in you, even though usebenza Gqeberha?
Yeah, I didn't know a lot of it. So I often think about like who Ingqushwa as like the blank canvas of my life. You know, like the first time a lot of things happened, a lot of thoughts formed, a lot of creative ideas formed. But I didn't know back then what we were doing, what we were learning, what we were building in my mind even, until I got to higher institutions of learning where I could make sense of what was going on in my childhood. So a lot of who I am now comes from Ekai. Yeah, but I think that's universally true for everyone.
I'll be honest with you. Part of the reason why I thought it would be great for us to have this conversation is because of the project that you are working on, and I'm gonna get to that project just shortly. But I want to find out for you, what was it like to move from high school, even though we're not gonna cover much of your earlier childhood now. But I want to find out, what was it like for you to move from high school to university, and your entrance into university?
Yeah, yo, that was a very confusing phase, bruh. Like I think it was a somewhat a traumatic experience actually. Now thinking about it, and part of my life's mission is to help abantwana navigate that space. Right, I have something that I'm trying to build now, an NPC, which is called First of All Yes, right? Because what I struggled with when I was making that transition from a high school kuya a university okanye institutions ezifana no NMMU, strugglisha with confidence, right? Because ezilalini uyafundiswa English and you're even taught English ngeXhosa. Yeah, but so you're never confident to
You
speak.
understand, ne?
Yeah, you're never confident to speak phambi kwabantu. And even sometimes you'd sit in there with an answer pa ebheke classini and just shrink. Yeah, but so it was a very tough time for me to make that transition. But I think it was also cool because of church, because when you're just forced to be like in front of people and talk. So being in leadership positions and going through high school meant I could make the transition much easier than most of my peers who came from the same spaces. But obviously was really difficult, and having a thought and not the words to express your thoughts was a difficult process. It was using the arms and the eyes to try and convey your thoughts, and then also navigating the stereotypes that come with that, because there's a stereotype that if you speak like that, or it means you don't have intellectual capacity. So it was a strange time, but also it was also difficult navigating the digital world, because imagine coming from Eslalin with no access to computers, and then you're doing like a creative course and all of a sudden everything is in front of you. And it was truly difficult to navigate. But then at the same time, it also gave me a creative hunger, because it meant I have to spend 10 hours doing something when others are spending 5. So now I was always there at the labs, designing, thinking, planning, whatever needs to be done.
And then you, in university, you studied the BA, Bachelor of Arts, Media, Communications and Culture.
Yeah.
That's a very loaded qualification, but do you remember anything in particular from that qualification
Yeah.
that actually caused and made the Lonwabo that we see today?
Yeah. So ukufika kwami university naqala ndenza i-National Diploma in Public Management. And then after a year I just decided it's not right for me. Then I moved to BA MCC. First year, you're doing everything from Roman mythology, Greek mythology, and it's a very imaginative course. You know, you're learning about Greek gods and all these things. And it was also learning about culture, but it was always other people's cultures, never about our cultures and where we come from, and expressing our ideas as Xhosa people. So there is a lot that I remember that was interesting there to consume, but I think it also just gave me a lot of hunger to know myself and my stories. Reading, for instance, about Oedipus or Odysseus from Greece and how those stories went, or reading about people from Nigeria and like stories that were written by guys like Chinua Achebe and all those people. And whenever you pick up a book that has to do with South Africa, it's always going to be something like Sophia Town, or like as if our stories started during apartheid. So like what happened before then was more of what I became interested in. And yeah, what did our kings look like? Because if you Google a warrior from London or whatever, you will find that, and you'll see that in movies, even. But how are we represented in that? What did it look like? Just made me curious. Yeah.
And I guess this is what now leads you to this conversation about resistance.
Mm,
Um, and you have a project that you are busy with,
mm,
that we see now the advertisement on social media that you are running on the 23rd of March. Do you
mm.
want to tell us more about Resistance is Everything?
Yes. So I started thinking about, or imagining, what it would have looked like if you were in the wars of resistance or the wars of dispossession that happened in the Eastern Cape, right? Like sonke siyayazi loo nto, sikhule kuthethwa ngoyintsa, intloko kayintsa, whatever. And you could pick that up even nakwi-candy. And that's where khumbula laa ntloko yesisikali, that were ilekese,
Yeah.
sasithi intloko kayintsa, but we never knew who this yintsa is. So as I grew older, I then started to imagine what those things would look like. And then the interesting thing is when I started telling my father Galendo, I started reconnecting with my father, and then I was telling him about these stories that I'm working on. And he said something that was interesting to me. He said that one of our relatives fell in war, wafa emfazweni. So that was interesting to realize, but I'm thinking and imagining something, and then my father connects the dots for me. So it started to also connect to genetic memory as well. You know, like into eyenzeka kudala has some way of connecting to today. Yeah, well, so then I created in my head what I then called at the time rediscovering power. That's what the name of the project, as I called it in its initial stage. But zonge ideas, you always like morph them, right? Like you always try to get to the core of what the idea is. And I pushed it further after a year to think a little bit further. But you know, by in land, why am I thinking about these things, and why is this even important? But also, when you look at our communities, Singabantu Abamnyama, especially in the Eastern Cape, we reflect more than 65% skip generation parents. Singabantwana bomakhulu. I even myself was raised by umakhulu. Then you have to ask why. Why is it that's the status of the Eastern Cape? And then you look and you also realize, oh, otata bekho emakhaya, bapho otata emakhaya, bahambe baya otatomkhulu babeyosebenza emigodini. Why do we not have access to our land? Why is it that if you go to places as fana no Morgan Bay in the Eastern Cape, you find resorts and all these things that are owned by people that are not black? What happened here? So these are questions that we need to ask. Then when I started asking these questions, I came to the conclusion that our forefathers resisted against invasion on a physical level, in that they fought the enemy that invaded the land. And we are fighting a different battle. We're occupying spaces, corporate spaces, and we have to fight imposter syndrome that happens within us. We also have to fight ideas of other people that they throw on us, right? Like of who we are and what they think the ceiling is over our heads. So these are things we have to resist and things we have to fight. So, but why do we have to fight these things? Because it's everything. It's everything you have to do. It's, if I said it's important, that's not the right word. If I said it's key, that's not the right word. You know, it's everything. Into yonke ekufuneka siyenzile. And that's how we begin to rebuild the black community.
And you say, I guess this is a pair of line that says that the battle of the mind, the battlefield of the mind.
The battlefield of the mind. So that's the battlefield that we're exploring with the exhibition. What does it look like for Lonwabo, Umasonwabe Nhloko, who's joining me in the exhibition? What do we think it means for our communities that we grew up in? Because Umasonwabe ukhulele Willowvale, Kugatjana. What does it mean? Because these are ilali are like the if you had to reduce black communities, you always go back to Elali. You know, it's always like lando buyela imbo yokuqala ukuthi is like ilali. Yeah, but so ezilalini kutheni kunje, and what does it mean? You know, and also like I'm sure a lot of us have experienced lando hamba endaweni, and then when you go back, you just get shocked at a lot of the things that you didn't see when you were there. Yeah, but so yeah, when I reflected back ekhaya eNgqushwa, watching my peers, watching where my mind was when I was there, watching where I could have gone if I didn't leave. And I was like, nah, this can't continue. We just need to have an open discussion about it. And because my tool of resistance is art, that's the sword I use to fight, and you use a pen, and other people use music. And so the tool that I have for me is concept and design and art. And so it's bringing all of those things together. But then even there, when you get there, you have to also say resistance is everything. So even like action of resistance within artwork and art forms, we have to bring in all art forms and try and use them as a form of resistance.
And then now you are taking us to Ebuhlanti. Your website says ebuhlanti.com. You are someone might look at this and say, why are you going backwards if you want to go forward?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so science teaches us about the nucleus, right? Like I think it's the center point of an atom, if I'm
Of a
correct,
cell, yes.
of a cell,
Yes.
right? So it's like the beginning of everything, right? So
That's where
Upland,
the DNA is of
yeah,
every cell.
yeah. So Uplandi is that, like for a community, you know, like you you can think of Uplandi in so many conceptual and philosophical ways, which I'll get to now. But before that, the reason why Uplandi qala, Uplandi is a secular device, right? And or used to be a secular device. So everything in nature and everything in Africa was always secular. So that's why xa kuthethwa ngenature kuthiwe the circle of life. And then nathi we used to make our houses round, our hearts were round. And so many things were formed around the idea of a circle. And even the community designs were some form of a round structure, right? But everything that came from the West had a box structure to it. You know, we live in boxes, we sleep on boxes, and we even using a box right now to record. somebody's looking at us through a box whilst sitting in another box somewhere, and we die and we bury each other in boxes. And when we want to think creatively, they say think outside of the box. So that's that resistance idea. So if you see the artworks that I've put out, there's like a almost like a rectangle idea. That's the motif that I'm using for the exhibition. That's the thing that epitomizes resistance and the thing that we have to resist. So the circle then comes in as Ebuhlanti. Ebuhlanti is the nucleus of the family, and the family becomes a nucleus of the village, and the village is what builds a community and a nation. So if we want to really fix the black community, funesiqale Ebuhlanti, and that's what we are doing on the 23rd of March. We are going back to the nucleus to work on our DNA, to look at what's going on there. Yeah.
I'm happy that we had this conversation now, but I'm sure that more will come on the 23rd of March.
Yeah.
And we will be there to watch and make sure that we basically take in, because this is your creative output, but I feel and I see you as fighting. You are putting on a fight, aren't you?
Yeah, it is. It is a fight. It's a fight against ideas that were thrown to us of who we are. It's a fight against things that we've thrown to ourselves of what we think we are. You know, like how xa uncoma umuntu uthi hey ungumlungu wenza kakuhle. You know, I think it's a fight against those ideas. It's a fight against the things that we've adopted that are killing us, and also a fight against the wars that we are fighting as ingekho important, like gender feuds and things like that. Yeah.
As a creative, I want you to have your little ad and look into the camera and invite people, tell them who's coming,
Yeah.
and perhaps who's also footing this bill as partners. I know those people matter a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so guys, I think you need to come to the exhibition on the 23rd of March. It's very important. If you are a black person, it's extremely important for you to have discussions around your culture, where you come from, and where you are going. Interestingly, at the exhibition, kuzabe kukhona panel discussion. Olwam Ngcwayi is going to be there. Ulelethu Mahambehlala is going to be in the discussion. Penuel the Black Pen is going to be one of the people. Senzo Xulu is going to be one of the people. And then myself and Umasonwabe Nhloko are going to be the exhibiting artists on the day. So come through. It's absolutely free. It's all sponsored by the NAC. Love them for that.
Thank you so much for joining us, man. Thank you. And we're looking forward to this, and hopefully that people will look maybe on your website and see if they can donate something to enable this work
Yes,
that you are
please.
doing. You are laboring something that we all need to be part of. Thank you, man.
All right.